Hi guys, so this is the second in the series of weapon videos, and this time I wanted to share what you might call the analytical approach I use to designing new weapons for Super Space Galaxy. And the situation for this really is that Super Space Galaxy is designed to encourage you to explore this galaxy map, and I wanted to have a large number of weapons, partly for customization and partly to encourage you to explore, as well as having all the weapons have infinite ammo, at least all the main weapons do. And that meant that I needed a large bunch of weapons that have a similar amount of power, but still have their own mechanical and visual niche. So to discover these niches, I like to just kind of work with the numbers, and it helps that the system is built around a robust set of variables where I can define new weapons decently easily by just changing the variables for each weapon configuration. I've mentioned in other videos that I do like to make notes and draw diagrams for myself and stuff, and this is a case where drawing little diagrams, even crappy ones of just a triangle shooting a circle, can really help you plan out weapons and think about what the possibilities are. I have kind of a respect for geometry. I don't think my geometrical knowledge is actually that sophisticated. I can do trigonometry in a pinch, but that's as far as I went. But I've got a lot of respect for geometry and the way it defines what happens in a game. So anyway, let me give an example of this analytical approach at work. I started with the pea shooter, which isn't actually in the game anymore because it was intended to be this dodgy weapon that you started with that was weak, but it was kind of a bit misleading about how the weapons worked, so I just started you off with a random real weapon instead. But I started off with a pea shooter that shot one projectile, and then you can kind of look at that projectile and think, yeah, but what if it was different? So the pea shooter shoots one projectile at a time. What if you had something that shot multiple projectiles and they all fanned out with less accuracy? So you can think about the accuracy of the projectiles, or the distribution of angles, or the number of projectiles, and those are all numbers you can tweak in your variables, and that became the space shotgun. And next you think, well, if I'm shooting one projectile at a time, what if I shoot three? And that's the trident weapon. Eventually I made it so the middle projectile does twice as much damage as the other two individual projectiles, because it was just sort of better to distribute the damage that way. But the trident was something I kind of thought of making Super Space Slayer 2. And then you see other facts about the weapons. Like I say, it helps to be analytical and ruthless about this. You think, well, the projectiles get destroyed if they hit an enemy. What if they didn't get destroyed when they hit an enemy? And that's piercing projectiles. And I've actually got two different kinds of piercing in the game. The normal weapons like Sonic Wave normally lose half their power each time they pierce through another enemy. Whereas super weapons, mostly, like the Zika laser, will go clean through enemies and just lose no power, because it just seems a bit fairer, given that they use up ammo already. They can just not have any other limitations and just go clean through a bunch of enemies, no problem. And then you look at other properties like rate of fire, like the projectiles come out at a certain rate. What happens if it shoots a lot faster, and that's kind of a machine gun? And just the speed of the projectiles as well. What happens if the projectiles come out not just the rate of fire, but the actual projectiles are moving faster, or slower for that matter? What kind of things can we do with that? So I've got a Vulcan torrent that comes out really fast, but I've tried to give it some kind of disadvantage where the shots kind of strafe back and forth in your ship. And that's another thing you can ask about. What if the shots come out of a different part of your ship, or they come out sideways to begin with and go straight in a minute or something? There's just questions you can ask about these things. One thing I really liked the idea of was homing missiles. I kind of got the idea from Samus's homing missiles in some of the Smash Brothers games. I thought those were really fun, so I thought some kind of homing thing would be great. And it did take a while to figure out how to do good homing. I did have to build new technology to make these things work, but it's well worth building new technology to do this kind of thing, because once you've got it, now I can have the enemies use the same process to have homing projectiles for them, and the enemies have used a lot of the same technology I made for your ship's weapons to make their own weapons out of. So anyway, that's the basic approach I have to designing weapons, at least the main weapons in Super Space Galaxy. As you can see, it works very well with tweaking variables and stuff. So you think of new variables to tweak, you think of new ways you can tweak the existing variables, and then you just explore that possibility space, and now there's 36 weapons and counting in Super Space Galaxy just as main ordinary weapons for you to discover in the game, and they all have their own slightly different niche. I do have other ideas about weapon design probably coming up in more videos, so you can bet there'll be a part 3 of weapon design at some point. Most indie game devs never finish their game. Why? No structure, no accountability, and no support. That's why I'm opening 5 private coaching spots to help devs get unstuck and finally finish their game. Message me game plan in my Discord and let's chat.